Well, good evening. My name is Feigel, and I'll step back a little bit. I'm going to be speaking from notes tonight. It's a little unusual for me. I'm a video blogger. I do videos about just about everything, and most of it's just about everything political. And so it's really good to be here tonight and to see the energy of people that are willing to give up an evening in the moderately chilly weather in Central Virginia. But it's good to see so many people that are willing to stand up, and I know that what it means is that there's this many people, then there's so much more that are willing to do something on another night or another day to really work to stop what we're seeing going on in America. And the Declaration of Independence was a call to arms. Now, this was a death sentence for the people that signed it. It was treason. They were committing treason against their king. And they didn't fail. So it ended up, for some of them it was a death sentence. They died on the battlefield. But for others, for like us, it means that we've had years of freedom and liberty, but we are starting to see that change. You know, these tea parties are a call to arms. They're an opportunity for us to symbolically get up and say, enough is enough. This is ridiculous what is going on. Now, I'm only 35 years old. I've got a 2-year-old and I've got a 4-year-old. And I look back, and when I was growing up, I had the illusion of what America was and this country I was going to inherit as I got older. And I can't even give my kids that illusion. Over $11 trillion in debt. How do I conceive of $1 trillion being paid back, let alone $11 trillion? Enough is enough. And that's, back then, 200 years ago, these were strong words. Liberty? What is, you can't say that. Freedom? My rights? What rights? You don't have any rights but what the king gives you and tells you you have.
That's Obama.
Yeah. You know, these words are alive today as much as they were 200 years ago, and I think they're just as strong today as they were 200 years ago. Our nation and our Constitution is under threat. It's under threat from tyrants just a short distance from here.
Yes.
And these fools would gladly burn the Constitution in order to get everything that they've ever wanted and do anything that they've ever wanted. Now let's look back. Looking back, history is unfortunate that it so often repeats itself. Any area of history, any topic you can think of, it has been done before. Let's listen to the words of Patrick Henry. It is natural for man to indulge in the illusions of hope. Where have we heard that before? We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in the great and arduous struggle for liberty? History is indeed repeating itself. The Declaration of Independence, if you read it, you can see a lot of parallels to what the founders had thought were grave issues that were concerning them. You know, Washington, I was up there this past Saturday. How many, let me see a show of hands. How many people were up there? Was that fantastic? I have never in my life been around so many people. Good, so many good people. Now, I don't care what anybody says, there were easily more than 1 million of us up there. And our representatives pretended, and they still pretend today, as if nothing had happened. As if we weren't there, I'm not listening, la 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 la, and just...
It's stupid!
No, you can't. And you know what this is really what that is? That's the mark of tyranny. For them to not understand that it is we the people that rule this country, not them. You know, but we've spoken and they scoff at us, but the reality is that some of this is our fault. We have not taken ownership of this republic, this gift that God has given us of this country. We haven't taken ownership of it, and it's time that we step up and we start getting involved, and this is the first step. Now, I know that the government schools have taught people that the people in Washington are your leaders. But they're not.
Servant. That's it.
They are our servants. I have one leader in my life, and that's my God. That's it. It's really honest when it comes down. Now, that's all the preaching I'll do. But I have one person in my life that I'm responsible to on this earth, and that's nobody but myself. If I screw up, It's my fault. So the question is, are you a slave? And if you keep referring to the politician as your leader, then yes, you are. But if you were free, you would continually remind them, you work for me. I do not work for you. Listen again to the words of Patrick Henry. The Constitution is not an instrument for government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government, lest it come to dominate our lives and interests. Now, I don't know about you, but lately the government has been dominating our lives and interests. So, what can we do to restrain our government? How can we, the people, make them follow their constitutional limitations? That's one way. I believe the answer is to kill collectivism. Whether it's fascism or communism or socialism, the only ism I want in my life is individualism.
Yeah.
What is the motto of Virginia? That's right. Literally translated, thus always to tyrants. I find that a civilized way of saying death to tyrants, because that's really what they were saying. I mean, look at the picture. It does not matter if 51% of the people wanted nationalized health care. They don't. But let's just pretend that they did. It doesn't matter. We do not live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. No constitutional power or authority has been given to them to pass this legislation, although they may do it anyway. You know, some of us had gone to see our representative, Tom Perriello, at some of the town halls. And we asked him about what the Constitution says about this issue. And you know what his response was in Bedford?
Never read it.
The Supreme, well, yeah, I never read it. The Supreme Court gets to decide what's constitutional. That's it. That's what he thinks. I've heard even in Appomattox that his response was, the Constitution's a living document.
He sure did. He sure did.
No, it isn't. It is neither of those things. You know, much debate, in his argument, I believe, in Campbell, was a lot of debate was going on about what, you know, a lot of the people that wrote the Constitution disagreed on it. Well, that may be, but they agreed on when they ratified it.
That's right.
They agreed on what should be in it. And they also agreed what power the federal government should have and what it shouldn't have over the states. This debate ended when the states ratified it. Shall not be infringed. Anybody have a confusion about what that means?
Washington, D.C.
You know, if you really want to know about the limitations government has, read the 10th Amendment.
Amen.
You know, what can you do? What can we do? Seriously. Practical steps. Get involved. And I don't mean that in a platitudes kind of way. I mean get involved. There are a lot of local political parties, and whichever one you want to be a part of, get involved. If we control the foundation, which is the counties, the local level, we control the state. And when we control the people, when we the people control the state, we control the national political party. We won't end up with people like John McCain. We won't end up with Tom Perriello squeaking by with 500 votes. How many people are here right now? We could have stopped it with just this people right here. Step up, America. It's time to serve. You know, maybe you should run for office. Because I guarantee you do a whole lot better than Tom Perriello. I'm going to end with this quote from Dwight Eisenhower. Politics ought to be a part-time profession of every citizen who would protect the rights and privileges of free people. Amen.